Before we get into today's mailbag, if you do a super thanks, we will give you a shout out on future mailbags. It's like a super chat, but it's on demand. You don't have to be watching live to do it. You can click that heart with the $, edit your message, send them whatever, because we appreciate your support. So even if it's FU Tom, don't commit isms. We will give you a shout out on the show. LaCour Victor, will the Bears trade down after not getting Ashton Jeanty and see to draft off someone like Josh Simmons, defensive player like Kenneth Grant, or a pass rusher? I think it's possible. Let's say Jeanty goes 6. Do the Bears go offensive line? Is there a Will Campbell who they think can play tackle? Is Armand Membu an option for them? Dark horse Tyler Warren. If Jeanty is gone, do they just take the best defensive player on their board? Bears are kind of in a unique spot where we'll see what happens with Jeanty. I think he makes sense for them at 10, but trading down to kind of recoup some of the lost draft capital from trades, I think actually does make a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. Ryan L., do the Packers make any trades or signings, do you think? I wouldn't rule out like the old draft day trade of they send a day 3 pick for a veteran. That wouldn't be terribly shocking. I think if like the Packers do something, getting rid in some capacity of Jair Alexander makes sense. I'm a little bit surprised he hasn't been cut. I kind of thought he would have been by now. I think what the Packers need is, assuming they move on from Alexander, a dog at corner. They need a special player there, and I think a dog at receiver, like a really damn good football. I don't think they have that right now. I think they're kind of lacking at both of those spots. So if they can get a receiver, yes, I don't know who's available. And then knowing them, they'll probably draft an edge pretty early too. From Steven, could Dallas trade Micah Parsons to pay others and get a Herschel Walker type package? So kind of different questions here. First up, the Cowboys can afford Micah and others. They're not paying anybody really. Obviously, Dak's a huge deal. Lamb is a huge deal. That's it. I've watched other teams spend big money. It's like they have like top 10 cap space right now. They've got more than enough money to spend. So they don't have to choose like a Micah Parsons, like a Tyler Smith. They can afford both guys with ease. As for the Herschel Walker type package, don't get your hopes up. I don't think that trade package ever happens again outside of an elite level quarterback. I don't think it's realistic. I think teams value draft picks too much. That was a rare, unique situation. In the end, I think Dallas drags this out, but eventually does pay Micah Parsons, just like they did with all of their other top-of-the-market players. What do you think, though, ends up happening with Micah Parsons? T for trade, P for pay. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. It is the pinned comment. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. William Cook, what does the undrafted free agent class look like this year? I'm not that far into my evaluation, and teams will always be able to find good players. But I think in general, as it's been the last year or maybe 2, the day 3 undrafted class isn't that great. Between NIL and the COVID year impact, you've got guys staying in school longer. You have fewer underclassmen than in a really, really long time turning pro, which means overall you're missing out on talent. Guys that, were going to be 4th to 5th round picks had they turned pro, even 3rd round picks, they know, well, I can go to school and get more money in NIL. So now it becomes financially smart to stay in college. I think as a result, you are still feeling some of the trickle-down effect of this class just isn't as deep. At some spots, running back is loaded this year, for example. I think there's going to be I might have 40 draftable grades on backs. It's insane. Every team should draft one. But overall, I think the undrafted class it's just not as deep as it's been in 5 years ago. It's just not the same anymore. From Skyler, Panthers should trade for John Metchie. I don't know what the value for John Metchie is. He hasn't been what was hoped. Obviously, he had the cancer stuff, which was kind of a big factor for him. But I think that for Carolina, you want to gamble on it. Sure, there's no real downside there. Maybe that gives you Adam Thielen insurance if he ends up moving on in the not too distant future. / signs, trades, retires, whatever. But I think they need to get Leggett going. They need to have a real number 1 at wide receiver. From James, Kirk Cousins trade to maybe the Browns. The Kirk situation is really interesting to me. There was the report from Albert Breer that that Cousins would not waive his no trade clause until after draft, because it doesn't want to get like happened this past year where he signs and then the team drafts somebody. I get that a lot. Look, his base salary is $27.5 million right now. That's a lot of money. And I would question if anybody would pay that right now. And would a team eat half of it? You know, how much would the Falcons be willing to eat on that contract? I'm honestly just not sure. Because there's also the $10 million roster bonus that is now already guaranteed. So like you're eating a lot of money. It's 27.5 this year, 45 next year. The Falcons have to eat a significant portion of that. Otherwise, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of interest there. So I think he fits like schematically with what the Browns want to do because it's the same coach, Kevin Stefanski. What do you think the Browns end up trading for Kirk Cousins in the end? Why for yes and for no? Go vote for me in the comments of today's show. Charles McLean. I'm a Lions fan. I could see the Lions going O-line in the first round. Agree or disagree? They have not yet replaced Zeitler. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. I will say I do think they are intrigued by, in particular, Christian Mahogany, their 6th-round pick last year. They drafted, I think it was Colby Sorzal in the 5th round 2 years ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions try to go cheap at right guard and see if those young guys can contribute. But if there's someone that they like in round 1 or round 2 or day 3 even early, I wouldn't be surprised either. But I do think Mahogany was a good pick by them. I liked him coming out of Boston College. I could see them giving him a shot. But, if they love Gray Zabel and he's there in round 1 or Booker's there in round 1, yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise at all either. NFL jerseys are available from our friends over at Fanatics. Get yours today at chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. All 32 teams, and now that Marvin Harrison is back, all the players as well. You can customize jerseys too. Link will be in the comments and the description of today's show. Chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Kali Lama. Presume the possibility, of the Patriots getting Carter or Hunter at 4. What offensive tackle would be available in the later rounds for them? It's a good question. Now, I'm going to answer later rounds as like round 2, round 3. Does like a Josh Connerly get to them at the top of that second round? I don't think Kelvin Banks gets there. Does Ariante Ursary interest them in some capacity? If you want to go further down, he's a right tackle, but like Ozzie Trapillo could be a halfway decent fit. Even later rounds, Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, I think, could be a possible fit for them. Other left tackles I like. I don't think Josh Simmons slides to them, but they could always be a trade-up team back in around 1. Go up and get a Kelvin Banks. Go up and get a Josh Simmons if they're sliding. That, I think, would make a lot of Patriots fans happy. From Tony, despite the bad Super Bowl last time, I think Casey will be back next year. AFC's tough, man. Bengals might have a defense, maybe. Who's to say? Sorry, Stone. The Ravens are always going to be a threat. The Bills are always going to be a threat right now. There's a lot of great quarterbacks. Can Houston kind of bounce back? It's not going to be easy, but it's Mahomes and Reed and the Chiefs. They'll be among the betting favorites in the end. Now, if you are enjoying our NFL mailbags, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV for more free NFL YouTube videos. Ecuador man, do you believe this Cowboys Tyreek Hill bull crap? No, I don't. Look, it's just like ideas online and headlines that should not be printed as such, but people want the clickbait stuff. And I get that Tyreek and Micah were at a charity event together. This is what happens in sports fandom. Like, it's Cowboys fans think they're going to get to Tyreek Hill, and Dolphins fans think they're going to get Micah Parsons. The way the Hill deal was structured, I don't buy it. Now, at least not this year. We can always revisit again next year. DC times Viper. Could a team like the Rams or Packers make a trade offer for Travon Walker? Could, absolutely. Would the Jags accept it? I doubt it. Because like a minimum, I think it's a first-round pick. So the way to think about it is, if you are the Jags, are you trading Travon Walker for Donovan Ezeraku? No, of course you're not going to do that. So that's why I don't buy the Travon Walker trade talk. Brian, will the Eagles trade Dallas Goedert? Maybe. There had been some, I think, more credible rumors on that one. Same with like the Mark Andrews conversation. I think in the end, the Eagles probably aren't going to get the type of offer that they wanted. Like, they'd have interest in him, if they could get a good offer back, because, they have Grant Calcaterra. They signed 3 guys, really. They got a lot of tight ends over there, a lot of investment in signings. Harrison Bryant, Colin Granson, Cameron Lotzie. I haven't looked at the contracts. Probably a couple of those are very cheap guys. But I'd be a little bit surprised still. So name a player who you think ends up getting traded. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Adam Dent, do you think the Panthers trade back from 8? In general, I think there's a lot of teams that would like to trade down. And that's how it normally goes in the draft. Everyone wants more picks, right? So you need someone to come up. And I don't know in this class if there's going to be someone who desperately wants to move up. If there's going to be a team that really gets anxious and, goes up and gets somebody. There'll probably be 1 or 2, but who's coming up and for what? Because it's not a great tackle class at the top. There are concerns on those guys. Like the investment money is a receiver, tackle, corner, edge, and quarterback. There's kind of some questions around all those guys at the top of the draft. There's some great depth later at various spots. But if there's not obvious linchpin players at key spots, you don't always see that action early in round 1. Mid to late round 1, could be a lot of buzz. Steve H. Was the Texans trading Tunsil simple planning ahead to have the cap for new Stroud and Anderson contracts? I honestly don't think so, and here's why. The cap is skyrocketing. The salary cap is only going up. It is going to be well above $300 million. By the time they have to give Stroud what will probably be $70 million per year, and Will Anderson probably $50+ million per year, the cap's going to be $370 million. So, that's a lot of money, but the cap is so high, it's okay, we're fine. It's not really going to be a huge issue in the long run. And it's not obviously they pay Derek Stingley, but, by then, Titus Howard's contract will probably be off the books. Dalton Schultz will be off the books. Then Daniil Hunter, maybe. They also kind of extended him. I think they had the money to keep Tunsil if they wanted to. I think that they thought the picks were more valuable, and, I don't know. I have a tough time explaining it. I know there were complaints about, the locker room and attitude and stuff, but then you go out and trade for Ed Ingram. So, that one, it just doesn't make sense to me, frankly. It just doesn't. I didn't really get it. But they'll have no issues paying those guys. Either way, they will be fine. I promise you that.